Hello, Lake Travis. I'm Brian Lancaster. I want to welcome you to our Facebook Live event today. As we did in our first live event a couple of weeks ago, at the end of the update, I'll take some questions from our community. But for the moment, we want to give it a moment and make sure everybody has a chance to get on. So let's just take 1 second. We'll see what kind of group we have joining us today. Hope everybody's doing well. I want to make sure I am visible and everybody can see me. Give this just a moment for people to log in. By the way, if you have questions at the end of the Facebook Live event, we'll try to get to those. If we don't get to your question today, you can submit those via email to info@ltisdschools.org. And I'm saying, I'm hearing we don't see me. Just double checking. Any video? I see some comments coming in. Please start school year early. Jill Escalante, hi Dr. Lancaster, hi back Jill. Can you see the video on the screen? Somebody give me a little feedback there. We see you. Okay, I'm getting it. Thank you, everybody. Gonna give that a minute for folks to log in. We're up to 285, 290. 295. Mercedes Norman, please start the school year early. Okay. We'll get some people who will tell me, no, don't start the school year early. That's a tough one. We're working on that. Kristen Valentine, about to be driving, but I'll be listening. Thank you, LTISD, for all you do. Will the teachers of the year be announced one each day? We've done 4 so far, and we're doing 6 tomorrow. We'll get to those. I want to wait just a moment. 370 people so far. Thank you, folks. I can see you. All right. Thank you. Kimberly Roy, you can see me. Perfect. We can hear and see you well. Up to 394. Yes, video. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now you're just greeting each other in the comments section. Okay, now we're having fun. No, don't start the school year early. Erica Music, thank you, Dr. Lancaster. Thank you, Erica, I appreciate that. Please reschedule a prom for our seniors. Well, since we're closed, that might be tough, but we'll get that to Mr. Butler and see if that's a possibility, but that seems unlikely given the environment that we're looking at in May and June. 446 people. We'll give this just a minute longer. Spring football, we'll get to that in just a moment. Looks unlikely, but we're not ready to say definitely no today. Kimberly Roy, Mrs. Subbing. Thank you, Ms. Roy. We miss you back. Just giving it a minute. 482. Now, if you miss any portion of this event today, this video will be posted on our Facebook page in its entirety. It will also be uploaded to our district's YouTube page, our YouTube channel, LTISD Schools. So if you or friends miss it or don't have Facebook, you can have it on YouTube later, but we'll post that in its entirety. Don't want anybody to miss out. 527 people. Any word on Cavs course? We'll get to that in just a bit. Don't start kids early, okay? Looks like you'll be putting your drinks in the freezer for now. Be hot September for your retirement. Can you address picking up kids' belongings in yearbooks, please? Yes, we will. We'll get to that in just a moment. I want to make sure we have everybody signed in. 554. Do we have a new principal for Lake Travis Elementary? We'll get to that in just a moment as well. Thank you for the questions. 564. Well, let me cover a couple of things. First of all, I want to say thank you for joining us today. This is the craziest thing we've all ever seen, and we just wanted to touch base with you a little bit this afternoon on a couple of topics we know people are asking about. Let me address those first, and then I'll get to some questions at the end, and then we'll have a bit of a closing. And then if something arises in the next few weeks, we will certainly try to have another one of these. But let me start by stating the obvious. As everyone I think knows by now, our governor has closed all schools in the state of Texas for the duration of the year. We expected that to happen, but we were waiting on that final notice. I want to say we're all very sorry about that, our students and our staff, especially our seniors. We know we had spring sports, fine arts competitions, concerts, all kinds of end-of-the-year events. And for our students who are missing their competitions this spring and their seasons, we're very sorry about that. It's a very hard way to end the school year, and I know it's hard on all of us. But there you have it. I think we all understand the reality of it. We don't like it, but there you have it. And we're going to make the best of it and see if we can get through the end of the year. We are planning to continue our online learning as we're doing it now through Friday, May 22nd, but we do not plan to extend this school year into the summer. We're going to stop on May 22nd, and I know people are concerned about that. Are my kids going to be behind? How are they going to compare to other schools? Everybody in the nation is in this same situation, and we're going to evaluate that over the summer, and if we need to do some compensation at the beginning of next year for the end of this year, our staff will take care of that. I don't want anybody to worry about that right now. The entire nation is in the same place. And so relax about that. We're going to get through this year. We'll know maybe this summer about what we can do next year. But one thing I wanted to touch on is, and some folks have asked some questions about it, about our grading guidelines. You should have received an email explaining these temporary revisions for this spring. As a reminder, the guideline revisions that the board approved Wednesday night apply only to the remainder of this school year. If we need to make adjustments for next year, that will be discussed at a later time. I know this has been a very emotional and controversial topic for some of our students and our families, and I think we all know that one size cannot fit all. If you have specific questions about these temporary grading guideline changes, please contact your teacher, your school counselor, or your administrator. A lot of questions we know about that. We know there's some strong feelings about it. I'm grateful for our campus administrators and our curriculum staff for working to try to find a middle of the road correction and revision of these guidelines. It won't make everybody happy, but I think in these unusual circumstances, we're trying to hit right in the middle for the vast majority of our students. So if you have questions, reach out to your campus folks and they can walk you through that. Summer school, people are asking about that. We will continue with our current virtual school setup through Schoology. So please expect some more details to come later in this semester. But yes, we are planning on summer school. Some folks have asked about our principal announcements for our LTE, Lake Travis Elementary and Serene Hills parents. We hope to announce our new principals next week. We're working on that last week and this week. We're finalizing those details and interviews and reference checks, and I will have an announcement for you next week for both of those principal spots. So stay tuned for that. Rough Hollow Elementary, as you already know, that construction continues on schedule, and we have revealed a brand new logo for the school. Angela Frankhauser, Mark Alvarado, and his team did a fantastic job of making a rattlesnake look cute and not scary to 5-year-olds. You can find that graphic on our social media. Go Rattlers. We also know that Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up on the week of May 4th, and we have been recognizing our Teachers of the Year this week. Please watch our social media as we recognize these outstanding teacher leaders through this Friday. So far, we have recognized 4 Teachers of the Year. That's Shannon Norris at Lake Point Elementary, Jen Monshagen at BK Middle School, Maggie Bauer at Lakeway Elementary, and Adelia Gannon at Lake Travis Elementary. The remainder will be announced tomorrow throughout the day, and we'll have that on social media as well. Now, I want to mention some things that we know we need to address, and we are working on right now, but I do not have detailed plans for you just yet. There are a number of things that have come up since the governor has said no more school for the year. And we are working on those this week. That announcement came last Friday at noon, and we've spent this week working on that. There's a ton of details to be worked out since we can't come back to our schools for the end of the year. Some of those details include, we know we need a schedule for our teachers to be able to re-enter their classrooms and gather their personal belongings and then close out their classrooms. 2 of our elementary schools are getting all new furniture. A wing of our high school is getting all new furniture. We know we have to completely empty those buildings, and we're working on that. How do we get our teachers back in a safe manner, clean out their classrooms, and gather their personal belongings? But we also know that we have a number of your students have personal items in our school buildings that they need to get back to them. We've got backpacks and jackets and sweatshirts and gloves and water bottles and pencil cases and supplies. We're going to figure out a way to gather those things for you through our teachers or our campus staff and have a way to distribute that back out to our students. We really don't want, and you don't want, large numbers of students coming through our buildings. We don't need reunions. We don't need people hugging and seeing each other, but we're going to figure out a way to get the students' items in our school that they need to collect and get those back to you. We also know that students have items at home with them that need to be returned to us. Things like textbooks, uniforms, instruments of various kinds, equipment. We're going to figure out a way to get that from you and back to us so we can catalog those information like we do at the end of the year. We also know we have summer programs like our summer camps, athletic camps, childcare. We are working on those details right now. Some of those may be canceled. We know our athletic camps may not be able to go this spring because UIL has canceled some things. Lots and lots of details to work out about that. We also know some of you are asking about how do we register new students or kindergarten students for next year? How do we enroll students for 2021 school year? We hope that we can open that process by the week of May 4th or 5th, but none of these things are happening tomorrow. So please be patient as we work with us and we work out these procedures and schedules over the next week or so. There's a lot to be done, lots and lots of details. So we're working on that. Know that that information is coming, but as of today, we do expect to be back in our school buildings on the first day of school in August, but that can certainly change. We do not know today what's going to happen. No one on the planet really knows what's going to happen in the next 3 or 4 months from now. As soon as we know what we're doing in the fall, we will communicate that change to you as early as we can. That's some of the topics I wanted to address. We have about 770 people online at the moment, and I want to take a few questions. But for the moment, let me tell you this: no one knows, as I said, what we're going to be doing in August. So for now, I'm going to skip the questions that are asked about next school year, like when is school going to start? What is our bus service going to look like? Are we going to have athletics and fine arts in the fall? Those events, we don't know, and there's no way for me to answer that now. So I may skip some of those things. We'll try to answer that later in the spring or summer. But I want to do, before I take some questions, I do want to acknowledge several comments from our last Facebook Live event a couple of weeks ago. Several of you commented on my orchid in the background. I appreciate your observance. I actually have several orchids in my office that I brought home during this interim period, and I've added one more to the background today. So there's 2 back there. I have a 3rd one in the house. I tried to squeeze 3 back there, but it just looked creepy, and I don't want to be the weird orchid guy. But yes, I do take care of these myself. Thank you for noticing. But some questions. Let me see what we have on our question list. Will the Teachers of the Year be announced one each day? That's from Kristen. Yes, we just announced 4, and we'll have 6 more tomorrow, so stay tuned. Christina is asking about spring football. We don't know that yet, Christina. We're working on that. Coach Carter and his staff is working. It's possibly that we may not be able to do that, or even some of our spring athletic camps, but we don't know that today. So stay tuned. We're going to get that back to you later as we know. From Joshua, my high school sophomore has better grades in the spring than the fall. Can he use those instead of the fall semester grades? No, Joshua, we're not doing it that way. We're not using the spring semester grades for class rank or calculation. They'll be on his transcript if he's a high school student. but they will not be included in their GPA. And those guidelines you should have received yesterday. And if you have specific questions about that, please talk to your teacher or counselor or your campus administrator. Will Schoology be available over the summer to keep working with our kids? It will for summer school, but we're not going to be asking our classroom staff to keep teaching over the summer. If there are things that parents can do with Schoology that don't involve our classroom teachers working over the summer outside of summer school, we will look into that. But for the moment, we'll not be offering extended school year over the summer with our teachers. Just like we stop every summer, we will do that this summer as well. Do we have a new principal at Lake Travis? We're going to be announcing that next week. Thank you, Myra. Is there a guideline for PE waivers from Constance? I do not know the answer to that, but we'll work on that for you. How do you maintain your orcas? Sullens? They're beautiful. Thank you for that, Sullens. I appreciate that. Actually, about every 7 to 10 days, I submerge them in water for about 60 to 120 seconds. I drain them, and that's it. When they die, I try to get them to rebloom. The purple one behind me is a rebloom, and the white one is the original bloom, but thank you for noticing. Let's see, any news about the SAT for juniors? Please check with your high school counselor or your administrators for that. I don't have that detail for you today. Thank you, Jessica. What about field trips for Schlitterbahn, et cetera, that were paid in advance? That's from Carla. We're going to do refunds. Some of those have already occurred, but work with your campus administrator on that and your teachers. If you haven't received that, check with someone at the campus level. There are so many different trips and so many different buildings. I don't know the details about all of those, but yes, our goal is, and as much as possible, we're planning to do refunds. When will school start on time in August? Don't know. No way to know that at this time. How will kids enroll in kindergarten? We're going to hopefully have information for you by May 4th or 5th. Thank you, Ann. What about makeup work from the last 9 weeks that was left in the classroom or needed to be made up due to excused events? Please check with your classroom teacher. There's no way for me to know 11,400 kids. I don't know the answer to that. So if you would check with the teacher and the class you're referring to, I'm sure they can help you with that. Any update on the new principal for Hudson Bend? Yes, we made an announcement last week. That is Julie Netterveld. Julie will be moving from Serene Hills Elementary School to Hudson Bend for next year. And I'm working on now a replacement for Ms. Netterveld at Serene Hills. Will the camps be canceled? We're working on that right now. I don't know that today, but we should have more information for you in the next couple of weeks. How do seniors get their cap and gown? That's from Lori. Those items ordered. I don't know that, but I know that Mr. Butler is working on that, and I know they're trying to have a plan. So I want to stop and say, if you have a very campus-specific question, I would encourage you to contact that campus. They're going to know that better than I will on some of the specificity. Mr. Butler, I know, is working on that. I don't know that he has a plan today, but I would check in with your counselor or your assistant principal or your principal, and they can help you with that. Jennifer asks, when does LTISD officially end online learning? That will be Friday, May 22nd. That's the last day of school. And then we will have some version of online learning through Schoology for summer school, for those students who qualify for summer school. What changes can we prepare for in the way schools operate in the fall? That's from Ashley. No way to know. No one, as I said earlier, no one on the planet knows what we're going to be doing in July, much less August and September. And so as soon as we know that, we will let you know. But for the moment, we're planning on opening school as normal, as scheduled. But that is very possible, could change, but we'll get more information back to you on that. Let's see. Should we buy school supplies next year? An email came out today with the information. You know, I would assume you're going to need those school supplies eventually. And so you might hold off on that. People often don't buy supplies. It depends on the campus and the grade level. But you can wait. But I don't think you're going to lose your money on that. We will be back in school at some point. I'm hoping it'll be at our regular time in August. But I also know that none of us wants to open school up and endanger our community and our nation. So I can't answer that yet. That's too far into the future. But for now, I'd hold off. Bridget wants to know, is there a plan for yearbook delivery? Again, the high school's working on that. Just like cap and gown, and several of our campuses have yearbooks, and so be looking for your campus to give you information about that. Will there be summer athletic programs? That's from Dory. We don't know that just yet. Hank Carter and his team are working on that, and we will let you know just as soon as we can. Will diplomas be mailed or handed out to August graduation? No, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I would email the high school with that. Obviously, we won't be doing that for our May, our graduation. We're having a virtual graduation in May, and then we will have the August 1st real event if our schedule allows and the regulations allow us. But I don't know about the diploma. That's a good question to ask the high school. How about volleyball? That's a fall sport. Don't know that yet. Don't know anything about the fall. Sorry, Alejandra. Don't know what anything's if we're going to have football or volleyball or marching band or any of those events for the fall. Stephanie wants to know, will ACC courses still be offered at the high school, online or on campus? We don't know that. There's more information to come. ACC is conducting summer session online. And no one knows, as we've said, no one knows what's going to happen in the fall. So stay tuned for that. Jennifer wants to know, how do we request college transcripts for our college applications and what records are being sent up to colleges? That is a high school counselor question. Please contact your counselor for that, and they can let you know. As always, your high school counselor is your best contact for anything about transcripts and college applications process. Is there an alternative for project graduation? I don't know the answer to that either. That is a high school PTO event, and I would reach out to the high school campus for that. That is a little too specific for my level. I don't know the answer to that. Is there a plan? Karen wants to know, is there a plan to continue online learning through the end of May? Yes, May 22nd is the last day of school. What is the incentive for kids to keep working if grades are done? Well, Sarah, grades are not done. We're taking grades through the last week or two of school, and those will be reflected on our students' transcripts, including juniors. So if your junior has told you grades are done, that's not the whole picture. Teachers are still taking grades, and those grades are going to be average, and they will be on the students' transcripts. They won't be calculated for class rank and GPA, but they will be on your transcript. So that counts for regular classes, pre-AP, AP classes. So grades are still being taken. Don't think we're done. How and when do we request transcripts for college? Check with your counselor at the high school. They can tell you how to do that process. That's from Liz. Any news on senior recognition banquet? All events have been canceled for this year. Anything that was scheduled to occur, including graduation, sports banquets, senior recognition banquet, our special ed banquet, our staff recognition banquet, all of that's been canceled, and there are no plans to reschedule those except for graduation. To my knowledge, if that changes, you would be contacted by a specific person for a banquet, but I would have to check with the high school, but my understanding that all banquets have been canceled for the moment. Will you, Cindy, this is a very nice question. Thank you for this. Will you please be staying to see us through this next school year? Our plan is to have interviews for a new superintendent the first 2 weeks of June. And our original timeline was to have a new superintendent in place by July 1st. And that timeline has shifted now to approximately August 1st. I'm happy to stay that additional month. And anything the board asks me to do, I will do. But I've announced my retirement. We've already got people applying for the job and a lot of excitement. I'm happy to tell you about that. Very, very strong applications for this job. Lake Travis is an outstanding school district. And our current plan for the board is to interview in early June, name somebody in July, and that person would start on or about August 1st or so. So thank you, Cindy, for asking. I appreciate the compliment. But I have a couple of trips planned, and I'm hoping I can get to take those in the fall. Do you have candidates for the new principal at Serene Hills Elementary? I am talking to that staff tomorrow to get their feedback on that process. So I'll have more information on that later next week and how to go about that process. We've already finished. We started the Lake Travis Elementary principal search earlier, and so we've already conducted those interviews, and I hope to have an announcement next week. That was from Gail. Let's see. What are the options to have a virtual graduation for 8th graders? That's from Leanna. Actually, our 8th graders don't graduate. We have maybe promotion ceremonies, but graduation only occurs for seniors. We don't have kindergarten graduation. We don't have 5th to 6th grade graduation or 8th and 9th grade. We may have had promotion events, but we only have one actual matriculation ceremony. That is for our seniors, and so we're not rescheduling any of those promotion events because our schools are closed, and we're not going to be able to do that. There are no plans to reschedule any of those end of the year events. From Jen, are the kids going to be working hard the next few weeks, even though if they were in school, they're going on field trips and have the end of the year parties? I think we all recognize that the amount of content that's being distributed over the last few weeks is certainly less than we would have done had we been in school. We know our grading guidelines have some information available for our teachers and our parents about the quantity of information being handed out, but I don't know how to compare it to our regular end of the year. We will not have those parties, but we still are taking grades. We're still working, and we will be doing that through that last week of school. Let's see, Life Touch class pictures, are those going to be mailed? That's from Cindy. Cindy, I don't know the answer to that. That is a specific question for your campus. I would email your campus principal or your teacher about that. Please understand they may not know that today, but be waiting for information about that. That's one of the things that maybe that I addressed earlier. You may have missed that we know we have things at the school that belong to students, and how do we get all that to you? So we're working on a lot of those, and I'm sure that includes the Life Touch pictures as well. Will school lunch balances be rolled over to next year? That's from Carol. You know, Carol, it gets dangerous when I go off script and I'm answering questions I don't know, but I'm guessing that our lunch balances roll over every year. It's been 5 or 6 years since I've had a student in the public school setting, so I don't know exactly how we do that. If you have a question about that, I'm sure you can reach out via email to our food service, our FANS, Food and Nutrition Services staff. That information is on our website, and I'm sure they can answer that question for you. Let's see. Yearbook photos pickup protocol will be announced when we have personal belonging pickups. Yes, we hope to do that. Leanne is asking about summer Squires. We don't know the answer to that. We're going to be getting that information out to you as well. And let's see, we're at 4:28, so I'm going to take a couple of more questions and then see if I can wrap us up a little bit. Holly wants to know, how can spring 2020 grades be put on the transcripts but not reflect the GPA? And that is an internal calculation process. The transcripts are separate from the GPA calculation. We can print those on the transcripts, but they will not go into that GPA calculation. It's magic. I don't know exactly how that happens, but it does happen, and Mr. Butler assures me that that will be the case. But if you want to know exactly how that happens, I'd encourage you to reach out to a counselor, but I don't know the answer to that. Kara wants to know, what's the first thing you're going to do to celebrate your first day of retirement? Well, Kara, and I should add, you've been the best. We've been so lucky to have you. Thank you for that compliment, Kara. I appreciate that. Originally, if I was retiring on the last day of June, my wife and I were on a plane July 1st. We were going to Mexico to a adult-only resort. No offense, but no kids. And it was an all-inclusive place in Mexico. And if I'm staying now in the month of July, I don't know if we'll still be able to do that or if I need to put that off for a few weeks. But my original plan was to be the very next day after my last day was to be on a plane to Cancun, sit on a beach for 5 or 6 days with my wife and eat and take a nap and read a book and eat and take a nap and read a book. But with what we're going through right now, I may delay that for a month or so. But Kara, thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Let's see. What can we as parents do better for teachers and administration? That is from Kristen. Man, I'm going to end on that question. Kristen, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. I appreciate that, that concern for our staff. I recognize that a lot of our teachers are working at home, trying to educate their own children and your children at the same time, with multiple adults in the house and children in the house, and that is very hard work. We have principals who have young children. Our teachers have young children. We have teachers and administrators who have parents themselves they're worrying about. And so I think the best thing you can all do is be patient, recognize that we're providing less than normal content and it's a challenging situation. Give them the gift of time and grace. We will try to do the same for you, but I really appreciate that question. Thank you for letting me in with that. And so let me tell you a couple of things in closing. I want to say that tomorrow we're going to send out information about a thought exchange. We have used this in the past to ask about attendance zones, about our Rough Hollow Elementary School name, our Rough Hollow mascot name. A number of you participated, hundreds of you participated in this process. And tomorrow, sometime tomorrow, probably in the afternoon, we're going to send out social media and email and text information that asks you a question. And that question is going to be, as we manage the impact of COVID-19, what are the most important things that LTISD should consider to best support our families as we conclude this school year? I hope that you will join that conversation tomorrow and share your thoughts and questions. Please come back to that link sometime after tomorrow, later next week, and star or rate the thoughts shared by others. We're going to use the results of this exchange to make sure we're doing our best to meet the needs of our students, our families, and our staff. So look for that coming out tomorrow. Have a little short video from me with some instructions. You can do it on your phone. It's very, very easy to do. Submit as many thoughts or suggestions or questions as you like, and then come back and rate those thoughts and questions. And what happens is those thoughts and comments from people that are rated highest will rise to the top and will allow us to kind of focus on what people think is most important for us to look at and consider. As a reminder, if you missed any portion of this event, the video is going to be posted in its entirety right here on our Facebook page. It'll also be updated to our district's YouTube channel, LTISD Schools. Like everyone, I'm very glad that Governor Abbott is working towards a gradual, sequential reopening of our business. This remains a very fluid process, and we're going to do our best to communicate any school district-related changes to you as soon as possible. For now, we're going to continue our current online learning process through Friday, May 22nd. Please stay tuned over the next few weeks for many, many more details to come as we work through the procedures to conclude this school year. I want to leave you with this. When the entire world has been turned upside down, I hope we can all take the long view. I saw a recent post on Facebook. It was a letter from teacher to parents. It said something like, no one is ahead, no one is behind. Everybody is being impacted by this experience in some way. In 10 or 20 years, I'm fairly confident that the last half of this semester is not going to have a lasting impact on our students or our families. It's easy for us to get caught up in the moment and get stressed about the details. Coincidentally, just today, I happened to reconnect with a former student that was with me when I was an elementary principal in College Station. 25 or more years later, he is now a minister. And he and his wife and his 2 children are moving to a church in our area. It reminded me, as do my own grown children, that despite the many bumps and worries along the way, our students do grow up, they graduate, they get jobs, and in the rearview mirror, we tend to forget those worrisome details that seemed so important at the time. For now, stay home, stay safe, and thank you for joining me today. I'll talk to you soon.